All right. Good morning, NatSci Spartans, and welcome. I am Phil Duxbury, the Dean of the College of Natural Science, and it's a real pleasure to be here and to talk to you a little bit about the college and the opportunities that we have here. So the College of Natural Science is the largest college at Michigan State University, with about 20% of the total effort, that's academic effort, in the whole university. So there are many opportunities for you to explore and think about things that you might like to try. One thing we really are very, very good at is research. And if you're interested in that direction, I would encourage you to start thinking about how to engage in research from the beginning. In these times, it's actually somewhat easier to get in contact with people who can talk to you about their research and get you engaged if they have space in their research groups. We have somewhere around 400 faculty in the college, so there are a lot of areas to explore, from black holes to digital agriculture to computational sciences and mathematics and statistics. So there are probably a bewildering array of things that you can think about exploring. It's also true that Michigan State is a really strong institution for work at the interfaces between different colleges. So the college has excellent relationships with engineering, with the medical colleges, veterinary sciences, and particularly agriculture and natural resources, the College of Education. And in all of those cases, there are opportunities for you to explore not only the opportunities in NatSci, but also opportunities at those interfaces. A new direction we're headed in is trying to provide our NatSci undergrads with more opportunities to explore career options in the private sector. And to do that, we're doing several things. One of them is to engage with the School of Business and the School of Engineering and the School of Arts and Letters to provide what we're calling entrepreneurial training. And you can engage with that early on as well. And that'll be expanded more over the next couple of years. We're also developing online capabilities to enable you to engage with alumni and with existing students at MSU. And the Central University is planning some things in this area, and we are too. So these are all opportunities to help you engage fully with Michigan State, despite the situation that we are in. So we look forward to engaging with you. I look forward to meeting you once we can meet in person and also virtually. And if you have ideas for how we can do better at providing you opportunities during these difficult times, please shoot me an email, and all of us in the college are keen to engage with you in one way or another. So with that, I want to say go green, and welcome Mark Voit, who's going to talk some more about the opportunities in the college.
Thanks, Phil. So for the last 7 years or more, I've been the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Studies in the College of Natural Science. And ordinarily, we'd be doing this event in the auditorium with hundreds of you here, and a big fair out on the lawn outside of the auditorium, because it's the one time of year where all the different parts of the college get together and open themselves up to talk about what they do for students. And we can't do that the same way this year, but we're trying to send the same kind of message. And ordinarily, these phrases would be on a giant screen behind me, but I did print these out. And so probably the overarching idea for this whole event, welcome you to Michigan State, is we want you to recognize opportunity. Michigan State is bigger than anywhere you've ever been for education. There's tons of opportunity here. A lot of it you don't even know about yet. And part of the reason for having this event is to let you know all the different things the College of Natural Science does. Because sometimes the hard thing about opportunity is to recognize when it's there. Opportunity comes to you in a lot of different forms that might not seem like what you want yet. But as you explore the different options that are around, you might find new interests emerging and new possibilities emerging for you. And so the first message is recognize that opportunity. The second message is practice scientific thinking. When you come to the College of Natural Science, we have you take courses in mathematical science, physical science, and biological science, because we want you to get a broad training in science, a lot of practice with scientific thinking, because when you practice scientific thinking, you're becoming a better scientist, but also you're learning things that can be applied in lots of different careers. We have NatSci graduates going, well, of course, to med school, to graduate school in science, but to careers of all kinds, where being able to think like a scientist is in great demand, even if what you're doing isn't, biology or chemistry or physics. And so we're going to give you lots of opportunity while you're here to practice scientific thinking, not only because it's good if you're interested in a career in science or medicine, but because there's a lot of possibilities out there for NatSci graduates. So the third thing, explore career options. How do you figure out what you want to do? How do you figure out what interests you? What we do is we invite you to try out things. If you're interested in research, you think, try doing research in a lab. If you're interested in medicine, volunteer at medical facilities. If you are interested in doing work in statistics, maybe you can be an intern at one of the local insurance companies. There are many possibilities here at Michigan State, and you don't really know what you're interested in until you try it and find out for real. And our speakers coming right after me are going to have more to say about that. The last thing is we love science. I hope that comes across in each and every course you take with us. When you enter our community, you're in a community of people who want you to love science as much as we do. We know that doesn't always happen for each and every one of you, but we're trying hard, we're passionate, and this is another big message I want you to take away is we really love what we do. We want you to love science as much as that's possible. And I just want to welcome you again to the community. And now you're going to hear from 3 speakers. 2 of them are students, Holly and Brent, and another one is alum. And so I'll let Holly introduce herself, and then Brent's going to introduce himself. So take it away, Holly.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good morning this morning. My name is Holly Wright, and I'm a senior genetics major on the pre-med track. So ever since I was little, I've always known I wanted to go to MSU. I was so excited to start, and it was my first day of classes at MSU. And I was actually in my Writing 101 class, which a lot of you guys will take. And the first thing my professor said to me was, imagine yourself 5 years from now. She said, where would you be? What would you be doing? And when she asked those questions, I knew my answers right away, or well, I thought I did. So go back to high school. We were required to take multiple aptitude tests. And I don't know if your guys' high school required that too, but they're just kind of career gauging tests. And I would always get this consistent genetic counseling career. It was a very unique career that I actually had never heard of before, and it interested me a lot. So freshman year, it was first semester still, and I thought I knew what I was doing. But I remember I was in my Psychology 101 lecture, and there is this girl who always sat next to me every class. And one class, we just started talking about our majors, our goals, what we wanted to be, and stuff like that. And I remember her saying that when she came to MSU, she wanted to be a lawyer. She said she was talking about her parents had always wanted her to be a lawyer, so she kind of just thought that's what she wanted to do too. And it wasn't until, so we were kind of talking, she was saying that it wasn't until she kind of saw what MSU was about and looked into different clubs on campus. She started talking about like how she would go and volunteer at different places and just get out of her comfort zone and try. And she ended up wanting to do forensic psychology. Well, hearing her story made me realize that I didn't let myself explore a lot or really think that there were other options to consider. So I decided while I was here that I would start researching various careers. I started to shadow and talking to other students also pursuing career paths that I was interested in. And through doing all of this, not only was I able to gain knowledge about careers itself, but also I found that I had a growing passion for medicine. So when looking back, I realized I was hyper-focused on that specific career path, and it closed me off to other potential prospects. So then I got myself involved in a few different pre-health clubs on campus and began shadowing and narrowing down different career paths that were interesting to me. I decided to shadow a physician assistant in the ER, and leaving there, I had so much drive and passion for careers in healthcare that I'd never felt before with anything. I was able to see the fast-paced environment of the hospital. I was able to see a variety of cases that they see, and it actually made me so excited for the future. It made me want to succeed and do the best that I can do to get to my end goal. So I also began doing research in the pharmacology and toxicology department as further exploring if I wanted to do maybe the PhD route to see if I would enjoy that more. We work with chemical warfare agents, and it's actually really cool research, and I do love doing research. And I do think that research is very important. It challenged me and it made me appreciate the intricacies of medicine. But most importantly, I've actually found that I do not want to do research. I found that my passion lies more in the patient side and seeing more direct results in patient care. But regardless, had I not tried that out, I would have never known, and I was able to eliminate another option. And so after shadowing the PA and doing some research in the pharmacology and toxicology department, I started to get involved in the community more. So I started volunteering at a nonprofit clinic. And while I was there, the head doctor, Dr. Quay, was able to get me in touch with some physicians to shadow. And the first one she got me in touch with was actually a urologist. Urology is a part surgical specialty. So I was able to go in and shadow some surgeries. They were very short, and we actually finished a surgery that I was shadowing early. And so the physician told me, he was like, there's actually next door, there's an open heart surgery. And he was like, so if we want, we can go into there and you can kind of see more of a high pressure case. And so we go into this other OR, and it is like a mass chaos. It's organized, but it's amazing to see all of these people work together. And then I was in the back, but as I looked close, I could see in between the surgeon's arms, I could see a real beating heart. And at that moment, right there, I knew exactly what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Now, 3 years in, I'm pursuing medical school. And although it seemed like I may have came to this conclusion fairly easily, I think it's important to understand that to me, it was not so straightforward and smooth. When I started to seriously consider becoming a physician, I would continuously get scared off that path. And like for many, it's hard to accept change. And I felt like at times I was doing something wrong by altering from my original goal, one that I'd wanted for so long. But that excitement I got from pursuing medicine has made me grateful for pushing through those distressing times. MSU has so many great opportunities that I would have missed out on had I not tried it out. I probably would have loved being a genetic counselor. I mean, I still think it's a very interesting career, but I didn't know what my true passion would have been. I think it's important. Everyone has setbacks in their life, some people more than others, and that's okay. For me, the reason change is so daunting is because of the uncertainty and fear of losing what you already know. But that's not something that I want to intimidate you, because any change we experience and any setbacks that happen will only help you grow as a person. Keeping an open mind is one of the best tools I use in simplifying my life. It does not mean I believe or accept everything, but I do listen, observe, and feel, and try to comprehend every situation I face along my path. From genetic counseling to medical school, my career focus shifted. But I'm here to tell you that if I stayed on that original path, not accepting change, I would have not been able to explore and grow as a student, and more importantly, as a person. And now if my professor asked me these same questions on the first day of Writing 101, my answers today would have significantly changed for the better. MSU is an amazing place. There's so many opportunities and resources they offer. So try different things, be you, and most importantly, enjoy your time here. Go green.
Hi everyone, my name's Brent. I'm a senior majoring in physiology here in the College of Natural Science. And today I want to talk a little bit about how it's okay to change that path that you have envisioned for yourself, that it's okay to seize new opportunities and to find new interests. And from a very young age, all the way to high school, I was interested in infectious diseases. And one of the most poignant moments when I really solidified that interest was when I read two books, both by an author named Richard Preston. The Hot Zone about Ebola, and then Demon in the Freezer about smallpox and anthrax. And in addition, during my final 2 years of high school, I had the opportunity to live in Salvador, Brazil. And that happened in the midst of the Zika virus pandemic. And every day I drove to school from my house for about 35 minutes, and we saw these billboards that read, a mosquito is not stronger than an entire country. And that really underscored the importance of studying disease to me. It showed how much it could affect an entire nation and how much it affects people. And for that reason, coming into MSU as I graduated from high school in Brazil, I had a strong desire to study microbiology because it seemed to have the most direct relevance to me with my interest in infectious diseases. And I was also on the pre-med track because I was interested in being an infectious disease physician. However, when I got to MSU during my first semester, I also became very interested in mathematics and the mathematical sciences. And I was approached about doing the advanced mathematics major. And I did this for two reasons. One, I had that interest, as I already said. And number two, I believe that it'd be very impressive for pre-medical committees for me to do something that was a little different than your standard biological or chemical sciences. So I had to sign up for this honors linear algebra course, my second semester of my freshman year. And I was quite excited for it because I'd done very well in my previous calculus courses and other math courses. But what I found was that I just wasn't that great at it. I remember our first homework we got assigned, and I started on a Thursday when the math help room was open for the honors linear algebra class. And I spent hours there. I was there all the way till midnight, and I didn't even finish all the homework. And I had to spend the rest of the day most of the day Friday, finishing that homework that was due Monday. So I just didn't have the aptitude for it that I expected. And most importantly, I just didn't enjoy it that much. I found that it really wasn't for me. So I ended up switching to the neuroscience major just as sort of a placeholder because I really at that point didn't know what I wanted to do. But then my friend told me about the physiology major, which, and for those of you who don't know, physiology is the study of the function of the human body and the biology of the human body. And that sounded very interesting to me because infectious diseases do affect the physiology of the human body. So I signed up for the first course in the physiology course sequence, the first semester of my sophomore year. And we learned about things like neurophysiology, molecular physiology, cardiac physiology, and respiratory physiology. And I was completely fascinated, so much so that I actually changed my major to physiology within the first couple weeks of taking the course. And as I've already said, it's now what I'll study and what I'll graduate in. And then, so that was one way in which I changed my interest, all the way from microbiology to mathematics, then to physiology. The other was in research. And I came in really wanting to do research when I graduated from high school at MSU. And I want to do this because I was interested in it and also because I thought it'd be good for pre-medical committees, for medical committees when I applied for medical school admissions. And I initially wanted to do infectious disease epidemiology. Epidemiology is the study of the distribution and determinants of disease. And as I had confirmed to me a couple months ago, and I discovered then, was that MSU has a very little presence in infectious disease epidemiology. They just don't have many faculty members who study it. So when I was trying to find a faculty member to work with, a mentor, I just couldn't find one. So I ended up looking at other people who studied other things, and I found someone named Matthew Reeves who actually studies stroke. And I've been working with him during my entire time as an undergraduate, and I've had just amazing experiences. I got to work on a multi-million-dollar clinical trial in all its stages. I was able to present this last February at a special session at the International Stroke Conference in Los Angeles. And we actually just submitted 3 projects that we hope to present at the International Stroke Conference this upcoming February in Colorado. And I've enjoyed it so much. And during this time, what I thought was my main interest, infectious diseases, actually moved. It's shifted from that to more stroke and cardiovascular disease. And that's actually what I want to do for the rest of my career, is study stroke and cardiovascular disease, to do that research. And this was not what I expected. And so both with my major, moving from microbiology to math and then to physiology, as well as my research, moving from infectious diseases to stroke and cardiovascular disease, I found that my interests changed, that this clear path that I had envisioned, it changed. And I think that this is important for you guys to consider as you enter the College of Natural Science with all of its opportunities, is that new interests and new opportunities will present themselves, and that you'll find the right path for you as long as you're willing to seize those opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker we have is an alum, and she lives in Seattle, and so she pre-recorded her message to you. She's out a few years, and her name is Lauren, and she's going to introduce herself.
Good morning, and welcome to Michigan State and the College of Natural Science. My name is Lauren. I'm a two-time graduate of the college, the first in 2015 with an undergrad in statistics, and the second time in 2017 with my master's in statistics. I currently live in Seattle, and I work as a senior data scientist for Starbucks, building models to determine where we should open and close stores. When I was in my colloquium my freshman year in 2011, I came prepared with a spreadsheet. In this Excel sheet, I had every single course that I was planning to take for the next 4 years, down to the times and professors, with my end goal being of getting a PhD in economics and moving out to the East Coast to work in academia. Literally none of that happened, despite all of my preparations. I couldn't give you a formula or a set of reasons for why I ended up where I am, but I do know that there were some trivial, pivotal moments that led me to where I am. And I share these in the hopes of not getting you to follow the same path, but to encourage you to say yes and take chances. The first is that I really wanted to do undergraduate research in order to get the PhD that never ended up happening. I was lucky enough to be matched with a professor through a program at the Honors College that let me do research with her. I did some literature reviews and data collection, and I ultimately found that I wasn't that interested in the subject material. I thought about dropping out or just letting it play out and finding some other way to realize my PhD dreams. But someone gave me the advice to just shoot an email to the research coordinator and ask if there were any other open positions I could switch to. So I did, and they wrote back saying, absolutely, we have an open position with Dr. Ballard in the Department of Economics. I worked on his team of student researchers for the next 6 years unintentionally. And one of those students was a senior when I was a sophomore. She connected me with the Land Policy Institute through a referral on campus. And I was able to do not only my undergraduate research at the Land Policy Institute, but they also offered me an assistantship to do my graduate research. So I was able to stay at Michigan State for 6 years through the Land Policy Institute, working on geospatial models, which I ultimately found to be my passion. Had I never sent that email and joined Dr. Ballard's research team, I never would have met that other student and been connected. These series of events ultimately led me to where I am today, and it seemed like a trivial decision at the time. Another example that I'll give is that I took CSE 201, Intro to Programming. I had never written a line of code in my life at the time, and I walked into my first day of class, and a lot of students already had terminals and code on their screens. At the time, I had no idea what a terminal even was, and I was so intimidated that I walked out and decided to drop the course. Luckily, there was another person on my residence hall floor, Caitlin, and she convinced me to stay in the class, having taken it the prior year herself. She also convinced me to join a group called Women in Computing. I would end up staying in WIC for the next 6 years, working with Caitlin and others on hackathons and student programming events, even though I wasn't a computer science major. Being involved in Women in Computing and taking a series of computer science courses is what exposed me to the idea of working for a tech company. I had figured that if I wasn't a software engineer, I couldn't move out to Silicon Valley or similar and work for one of those tech giants. It's what ultimately connected me to Zillow, my first job out of college, working in tech in Seattle. So had I dropped out of that CSE 201 course sophomore year, I probably wouldn't be in Seattle right now. It seemed like a trivial decision, but it ended up making who I am today. The last example that I'll give is something not academic or research oriented. It's MSU football. I hated football in high school. I had no interest in sports of any kind. And somehow a friend who was also going to Michigan State convinced me to get student tickets. What started as a sort of begrudging hobby turned into me driving 36 hours nonstop each way to Pasadena to watch the Spartans win in the Rose Bowl in 2014. That could have just been a cool college memory, an anecdote that I tell, but it actually ended up with me speaking to you today. The reason being that when I moved to Seattle, I wanted people to watch Michigan State sports with, so I sought out the alumni network. They're the touch point that kept me in contact with the College of Natural Science and Michigan State. So they're the reason that I'm giving this talk to you today. Finally, I'll just say that not all of your random decisions will result in the stars aligning. I added a finance degree at one point and did an internship at a Big Four consulting firm. I spent all that time and energy on an additional degree, and I ended up deciding that I have no interest in it and that I'll never do it again. All of this is to say that life is incredibly random. We have no idea what the outcome of one small decision will be, and the probability that it results in something meaningful is probably really small. But that's what Michigan State and the College of Natural Science give us, is the opportunity to collect those small decisions and experiences in the hopes that enough of them end up in success that we find the path that's best for us. So whatever random chances or opportunities life throws your way next, I hope you say yes. Good luck and go green.
Okay, so the reason we have people tell you their stories is so you know what it's really like to find your way through college, to try things, to explore opportunity. And the more important part of Colloquium than what just happened is what's going to happen next. All of our units are waiting for you in Zoom rooms to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. They want to tell you what they do, how you can participate. You'll probably end up going first to wherever you're going to major in. But really, the best way to use this event is to explore outside your usual boundaries. You've already gotten a link to all our page on Colloquium. There's also a link here in the chat on the Zoom webinar. So go to our Colloquium Zoom Rooms page and explore away. We have people waiting there to answer your questions. And some people find from the very start new opportunities that they end up exploring in detail just by dropping in and talking to people today. So thank you for coming to our general presentation. I hope you explore as long as possible all the different opportunities we have in the college in the different Zoom rooms. So thank you for attending this one, and go and find out more about the College of Natural Science.